Hello everybody and welcome to another project for the February kit for Aunty Vera Scrap and Craft. Today I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about this stamp. I wanted to bring you a beginner's guide to stamping. Now I really learned to stamp on my own. I never joined any classes or got taught how to stamp. I sort of started collecting stamps because I love them and I was really scared of using them. And then I discovered a way of looking at stamp sets differently and then being able to create a scene with the elements in each stamp set. So I thought that for today I would do a beginner's guide to stamping. Let's go through this together. This stamp set can really be broken down into a few elements. If we were to take out all the sentiments in this stamp set and just put them on the one side, next is all the elements. So the elements will be all the insect, 5 insects, all right? And then the hearts is what's left over. There are 4 hearts. They are your filler elements. So really, you are looking at these characters here to use to create a scene on a card. I usually start off by cutting some panels of medium weight paper. That's about 225 GSM, and you always have to make sure that it is suitable for watercolor and ink. I usually cut a panel to 4 by 5 1/4 so that it leaves a nice border around my cards. I'm grabbing this Dylusions ink palette. It has a few colors on there, and I've already pre-stamped my insects just to get the stamp going. Same with the sentiments. When a stamp set is new, you need to use it a couple of times so that it's able to take up the ink. And now on to my first card. For my first card, I'm going to be using the ladybug. I'm going to stamp her 3 times on this card. And I'm going to make it look so she is traveling across the card. What I'm doing is I'm grabbing my black pen and I'm going to make these little dotted lines and make some swirly as well. That way it gives the illusion that the ladybug is traveling from the bottom left corner to the top left corner. I now look at my sentiments and I know that I want to use the sentiment that says love bug. I'm just going to cut it out and put it here. This is just for placement. I think the sentiment's going to go about here. Now for some elements. I'm grabbing this memento, and funny enough this ink is called Ladybug. I grab one of the hearts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a heart along the trail of the ladybug, one to the left, one to the right, not too many. Okay, now comes time to stamp your sentiment. Goes down very nice. And now I'm using the same color as the hearts. I am dabbing it onto an acrylic block, and I'm just grabbing a paintbrush, a little bit of water, and I'm going to color in that heart on the sentiment and then just the wings of the ladybug. Now when a ladybug opens up her wings, it reveals the underside of her back, and the underside of her back is black. So I'm just coloring this in now with my black Tombow pen. I'm then going back in with a little bit of color just along the edges to give a slight shading effect. I'm grabbing my Wink of Stella, just adding a little bit of detail. This creates like a shimmer, like a shine to anything that you put on, and I'm just applying it to a few of the hearts and the wings of the ladybug. I then grab my card. I buy it in these packs. Putting the white panel onto the card, you see that it gets lost. So I know that I definitely need another color between the panel and the card. I go for this red and pink heart card. That is the Carta Bella from the February kit. It is just perfect. I'm just lining it up here, cutting off the sliver excess and attaching the panel, and I think it creates a lovely border for this ladybug card. I then remember I have these ladybug charms. So I grab a charm and I grab some twine and I decide to make an extra feature for this card. What I want to do is put a little bookmark on the inside of the card. This is an extra gift that I'm giving the person who I'm sending the card to. They can decide to do whatever they want with this bookmark. I'm attaching it to the card with some simple washi tape that can easily be removed. And it adds a little bit of extra special something to the card. I think it looks beautiful. I'd love to receive this card. So on to card 2. For card 2, I'm grabbing the butterfly, and we'll start again from the beginning. So I'm going to stamp the same sort of design on the front of the card. Using my black archival, I'm going to start at the bottom left-hand side and then work my way to the middle and then up to the top left-hand side. So the butterfly is moving in this formation. This is the same as the first card. I'm also adding the swirl, so showing the motion that the butterfly is flying through. So this time, instead of just using the one color that we used in the first card, what I wanted to do was grab my multicolor ink palette here. I'm grabbing one of the small hearts and I'm using it to create a pattern of love hearts around each butterfly. Each butterfly will have a different color. I'm stamping off the heart in between the colors so that the colors don't mix. So one will be blue, one will be pink, and one will be green. I've stamped the Happy Bug Day sentiment onto some cardstock, and then I've backed it up with just some glitter foam tape. I also grabbed some butterfly silver charms and I'm attaching them to the front of the card in some of the open spaces. This card is looking really good, but I'd like to add a little bit more color. Now, instead of inking, you can also use watercolors. These are twinkling H2Os. They're pots of really beautiful color that you just spray a little bit of water into, mix them around, so we wait for the pigment to soften up, and then you use your paintbrush to grab some color. Here comes the blue now. It's a beautiful iridescent twinkling, as it suggests, blue. I use this Mambo Peach color for the body of the butterfly. I then move on to my green color, and then I use a pinkish reddish color for the middle butterfly. I go back in with a little bit of darker color along the edges, and I'm loving the look of this card. For card number 3, I'm using my Stampaholic mini stamper because what I'm going to be doing is stamping this worm in one straight line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a very light line, and then I'm going to stamp the worm 3 times along the line. Now you can see that I've done it before just to get my spacing right. It's always good to have some scratch paper to practice before you do the real thing. So there are my 3 worms all in a row. I grab one of the little hearts and I just want to add a pink heart at the beginning and a pink heart at the end. The next thing that I want to do is stamp the sentiment, so I put the card back into my stamp platform. I adjust my sentiment so that it's in a straight line, and I ink it up and I stamp it. I wanted to add a little bit more color, so I added 3 more hearts near the kisses sentiment. I decided to grab my Sakura Koi watercolors, and I am just choosing a very simple palette. I colored the spots in red, a yellow color for the worms. Erasing the straight line here. Now I looked at this card and I thought, it's missing a little something. I look over to my rolls of washi, and this one washi called out to me. It said, "Life is a journey." And I thought to myself, even the littlest worm has a journey it needs to go on. So I grabbed that washi and put it at the top of this card. You can see it here in the next clip. So After that, I decided that since I brought in that green color, that perhaps I should introduce the green color. And so I decided to create a little bit of a green strip to represent the ground that the worms were having a little journey on. So here I am just trying out the different shades of green that I have in my palette, and I do decide to go for that last color, and I'm just going to swipe a quick line across the bottom to ground the worms and to introduce the green color. And now I feel like this card is complete. For this next card, I'm going to be using the bee stamp, and I'm just going to use one image for the bee. You always have the option of using the filler elements to create your background, but another option that you have is to use your sentiments to make a background with, as long as you use a very light color. So for this card, I decided to use a yellow ink, and I'm just going to stamp it a couple of times across the card. Next thing I do, I have this wood stamp, and it has the honeycomb image on it, and I thought it would be perfect. So what I'm doing here is I'm just stamping it at the top corner, the bottom right corner, and I make a little oops here, which upsets me. The rubber, I don't stamp very well. I'm a very messy stamper, or I think maybe it's the rubber stamps, but I smudge a little bit onto the card, which just, I thought I was going to just throw this card away, but I do try to salvage it, and I show you how. I stamp this sentiment onto another piece of paper, which I then popped up with 3D tape. And now I'm thinking, because this is a bee and the bee loves flowers and it needs flowers to make honey, I wanted to find a pattern paper that has flowers on it, and I found this one, which was a really good one. I love the color. So that gets stuck down to the card base, and I'm just adjusting the size now. Next thing to do, my panel. Now see where the smudge is? What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off that much of my panel to remove the smudge. That means that my panel is going to be considerably shorter on my card base, and that's okay too. You could choose to put it down like that, but what I do is I grab some washi, and I love adding dark value in your art layout. It really pops up what you're trying to say. So I'm just going to show you now, as I lay the washi underneath the panel, it really makes the panel pop. It makes up for the space that I cut off, and I think that it completes this card beautifully. I love this card so much, I actually made another one. Now on to card 5. For card 5, I am going with the 5th insect, which is the dragonfly. I used my stamping platform to align the image plus the sentiment, and I decided this time to color in the wings of the dragonfly. I didn't color in the bee last time, and you can always decide to make your images colorful or black and white. It depends on the elements that you use. If you use colorful elements in the background, you can get away with the black and white image. If you've got a lot of white space, then go ahead and color your image. I've got this washi book from Simple Stories, and I thought it would be really cute to create a cluster of washi tape. So I just grab a whole lot of washi, and I just add one strip on top of another, not really caring very much about what I'm choosing. I'm just going for like thin tape, then wider tape, creating just a cluster down there, and I'm really enjoying this. This is a good way to use up washi. It's a good way to use up strips of paper that you have in your scrap bucket. I love the simplicity of this, and I should actually make more cards like this. They're so fast. You get to do your stamping, you get to use up your washi, and you get to use up your scraps. Like, what better way to spend a crafty afternoon than this? I'm attaching the panel to the front of the card, and this card is done. So here are all my cards together. I really enjoyed making this for you. I really enjoyed actually just sitting down and thinking about how I make cards and all the different techniques that you didn't realize you were doing, but that they really are techniques that you can use to be successful at stamping. I hope you give these techniques a try. Grab one of your simple stamps, one that you bought because you really loved, but you were so scared to use because you didn't know how. Go ahead, grab it, try some of these techniques, and make some beautiful cards. Even though they're simple, they're gonna be yours and you're gonna love them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you in my next video.